All right, Patreon, we're still here. It's 2 days later. Can you believe it? They haven't fed me or given me any water or anything.
Dude, we're at your house. You haven't even let us poop yet.
Shut up. You just obsected me, bro.
I didn't say the fact that we're in, like, southwest Colorado.
Colorado.
It's all alluvial, dude.
Right, it's a alluvial silver.
Alluvial Colorado.
Yeah. Okay, so the tribesman has asked life lessons from the original homesteaders, analysis of their preparedness, do's and don'ts, mistakes and successes. And so Mr. C103 here, our own patron, you were saying that you grew up on a homestead with your dad, and he grew up without electricity and all of those things, right?
That's right.
And so what jumps out to you as far as just the compare contrast between how we do things now and how they did things then?
You need to learn how to do everything, whether it's expert or not.
Amen.
You learn how to weld just so enough it'll hold together. You learn how to build enough it don't fall down. You learn how to plumb, and if it leaks, you can fix it. You learn all the trades, even if it's a bare minimum of those trades.
I think people, and this could just be my perception, but I think people were tougher. That seems to be something that, as I look back in time, we're right here by Grandma's house, actually, not my house, Grandma's house. But Grandma has some wonderful books from, pictures from 100 years ago or so. And you look at these people, there's a picture of one woman in there, a white woman picking cotton. And she's probably 28 years old, looks like she's about 45, and her arms are just ripped, and her forearms, right? Her forearms, she looks like she's, been a blacksmith her whole life. Just solid, just the musculature and the veins in her forearms. And she's just standing there holding this basket full of cotton with her dress on, and she's got a bonnet on, and somebody decided, hey, that'd be a good picture to take. And she's ripped. She's ripped. And you look at that, and I think to myself, who would do that nowadays? Nobody. Nobody would do that. If that's your job, you got to go do that or starve to death. How many people would just say, that's it, I give up, I'm going to starve to death, it ain't worth it?
Too many.
Too many. And some of the pictures also in that book, I'll probably bust that book out and do a video on it. There's one in particular that's just excellent. It's mostly photographs. The dwellings that people lived in, I mean, a lot of these dwellings, people nowadays wouldn't let their dog live in. And there's these buildings that, an entire family lived in a one-room house that was, 100, 150 square feet maybe. And there's a man and his wife and all their children in there. And I just think that people were tougher. They had to be tougher because the conditions were more severe than they are today. And that's one of the things that I worry about as this system that we're so heavily dependent on goes by the wayside. As things get tougher again, I don't see, in my estimation, enough younger people who are going to inherit this S-storm coming up with enough intestinal fortitude to be able to handle the situation. Agree or disagree? What's your take on that?
No, they're not going to be able to. Some may be able to learn it quick.
Right.
Some are not going to learn it at all, I don't think. But
yeah, I think there will be some that opt out. I think there'll be a lot of people that take their own lives, truthfully. I think there'll be a lot of people that take their own lives, and I think there'll be a lot of people that just become statistics. But, as far as like the homesteading aspects, again, I think that it's really important that you have good neighbors, because if your crops fail but mine don't, who do you think's going to feed you? We better really like each other, right?
And that was very big when I hear my dad tell the stories.
Yep.
What they did specialize in if I remember right, was they had a type of potato house.
Right.
Potatoes have to be cured. You can't just dig them up and store them like everybody thinks you can. You really can't. So they would specialize in that. Well, the next farmer down might specialize in whatever he does.
Right.
And they worked as a community. The same thing we talk about. This is nothing new. Nothing new under it's nothing new under the sun.
Ecclesiastes.
Yes.
Yep.
It's like
So it goes back to that. You know, learn to do everything, but have one specialty that you can help all the rest, and they'll have theirs too. And you work as a community. They did then.
Well, just barn raising, right? When you got to get something done, having all the hands to get something done. And this is something that there's a sweet spot in here somewhere, and I haven't quite figured out where it is. But we have this concept of rugged American individualism, where it's me and my 40 acres and my mule next to you and your 40 acres and your mule next to you and your 40 acres and your mule. And it's kind of like, leave me the hell alone. If I want to talk to you, I'll talk to you. But if you need me, come get me. And if I need you, I'll come knock on your gate. Versus I think there's also a huge potential for things to get sideways when people live communally and there's no, for lack of a better word, safe space, or no, we can't put distance in between ourselves, and there's no privacy and so forth and so on. And somewhere in there, there's a sweet spot between, you know, self-reliance and interdependence, you know, and you have to have the community for when your self-reliance fails you, and you need to be self-reliant so you can operate from a position of strength within the community, you know. And it's maybe they're just diametrically opposed concepts that you have to strive equally for, you know. I don't know where the line is in there, other than I know when I look back at, you know, what I've been taught, and when I say keeping the old ways, like I was fortunate to be raised in part by a bunch of old farmers in upstate New York. And like you said, they could fix anything, man. And it might be with like the worst weld you've ever seen and half a mile of baling wire, but it works. It works.
And if it hits the ground and holds together, it's fixed.
That's right. That's exactly right.
when you were talking about the sweet spot in the old German communities I was raised in, right? Everyone had huge tracts of land.
Right.
Right, huge tracts, because people would come in and buy a section, and then that would break down. But every farmhouse, I was seeing 103 and I were talking about this, every farmhouse was just within rifle support range of the next one.
That's correct.
Every single one of them. And yeah, you had your independence, and yeah, you were free to do whatever you wanted on your land, right? But God help you if you do not come to your neighbor's aid.
Yep.
Harvest time, everyone would put their boys together and we'd work your farm. We get it done.
That's right.
We go to his farm, we get it done. We come to my farm, we get it done.
Yep.
Get that cleared, everyone goes home. Wintertime, you got a project where you need a bunch of hands to get it fixed. Well, wintertime was repair time. Everyone shows up at your place. We figure out what needs to be done, get it fixed.
Yep.
Roll over to yours, and then roll over to mine and laugh at how incompetent I am. And clean that up, spank me, and leave me on my porch, and then you carry on. The last thing you wanted was to be shunned.
That's exactly right. That's a great point. You do not want to be found worthless within the community, right? Where it's not worth somebody else's time and effort to come to your aid. And that's something like, even where I am compared to where a portion of my tribe is, it's like, oh, it's work day, we're going. Yeah, it's not easy, it's not convenient, but we're going. Why? Number one, because I have the conviction of the heart that I should be helping these people. But number two, because if I ever need anything, there'll be nobody who says, well, he never shows up. He's not here for Shabbat. He's not here for work days, blah, blah, blah. No. Like, we're there. If you need me, I'm there. And it is the dual understanding of you operate out of the kindness of your heart, but also understanding that there's an obligation between you and the people that you do life with to come to each other's aid. And you don't want to be the guy that when you need something, everybody else just kind of, looks sideways and slowly backs up and they're like, I'm not interested, And
it's not saying that if you're handicapped that people are going to shun you, because I never in my life living in that community saw that happen.
I agree.
Because they were given, it was understood, hey, so-and-so's got, leg doesn't work anymore. We're going to go work his farm.
Yep. Well, yeah.
And no one would complain. No one would say, you got to pay me. It's just, it was done.
Well, getting
because
back.
you were known well beforehand.
Yeah, and the Judeo-Christian value of don't abandon the widow and the orphan. I mean, there were times growing up.
Absolutely.
There were times growing up. I can remember, we didn't have, there were times we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, but we had food because we had land and we worked the land. We, that's something else with homesteaders. There's this huge, I think, misconception nowadays that you're going to get out here, you're going to grow a garden and eat all your own produce and do it. It's a ton of work.
I remember showing Dad some stuff we had dehydrated.
Right.
And he said, "You think that's new?" I said, "Yeah." He said, No. I said, "But you didn't have electricity to run this." He said, "No." He said, "We cut the stuff up. When the dew was gone in the morning, we'd put it on the tin roof.
Yep.
Before the dew come back in at night, we'd take it back down. We'd do that several days till it was dried out. We'd throw it in the jars, and
Yep.
you're not doing anything new. You're
That's
just doing
right.
it easier.
That's right.
Well, easier is good, but there is another way if you're not able to do it the easy way.
But see, and that's something that I didn't even know you could do that. So there's a nugget that I just got.
He said we do that and throw it in a jar, and that was our candy during the winter.
Right.
That's
Well,
where the phrase hot tin roof came from.
Okay. There you go.
I asked him about burning pine wood. I've always heard you shouldn't burn pine wood in the fireplace. Well, honestly, my common sense says if it's dried out enough, it probably is fine. But I asked him, and he smiled and he said that was Christmas Day in the wintertime. If we had pine, that was the only time the house would be really warm. It was
Right.
like Christmas to us.
Wow.
Okay.
That's awesome. Because I remember my mom giving away food to other people in our community. And I've talked to this a couple times on camera, and I remember panicking. What are you doing? I busted my tail. We had 2 acres of garden, right? That's a huge garden. We had 2 acres of garden. I busted my butt out in that garden, picking those peas and, shelling those beans and doing all this stuff. You're just going to give it away? And even when we didn't have, we had no money, but we had food, and it wasn't like, here's a couple jars. My mom gave food away. The smallest denomination that she could give food away in was a month. She'd give away a month's worth of food to another family.
Can that not go back to the 10% of tithes also, though,
Yeah. Yeah.
in all honesty?
Yeah, it does. And tithes were originally what? They were produce, the fruit of your fields and your flocks.
That would go into the storeroom.
That would go into the storeroom, right? For use by the priesthood, not dollars and ones and zeros and so forth and so on. But it would tear me up to see my mom, until she explained it to me. And then she's like, listen, one day we're going to need something, and there's nothing that anybody's going to be able to say, hey, no, we're not coming. Because we were known in the community, man. You had hay to put up, I'm sending my boy. I've chucked more hay bales in my life than I even want to think about, right? And, a lot of the times it didn't even get paid for it. There might have been a cold Budweiser at the end of it. Don't tell your dad. Hell, my dad knows, but, well, don't tell your mom. All right, fine, I won't tell my mom. But go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, hit it.
My grandfather would tell stories about the depressions in the 1890s, and then, of course, the ones everyone knows about, right?
Right.
His father would load up a wagon once a week, drive it down to the railhead, get on a car, go into the major city that was 25 miles away, get off there, and just run the wagon around giving away food.
Wow.
Didn't ask for nothing. They had a huge farm.
Right.
They had 13 kids.
Wow.
They were knocking it out.
Right.
And they'd been there and they were established before all this happened. So
Right.
it was a well-maintained, well-provisioned farm.
Positions of strength.
And they gave it away.
Wow.
My great-grandfather was a hero in those communities.
Right.
And he never asked for anything. So like, here, take it. And he just run the wagon until it was empty.
Yep.
And he'd do that once a week or once every 2 weeks or what have you. And then all of a sudden people are like, hey, what can I give you? It's like, no, you don't give me anything. It's like, well, your boots don't look good. Why don't you hang out here for a while? I'll put a new sole on.
Right.
Hey, what size is your kids' boots?
Right.
Things like that. So there became a kind of an informal bartering. But Fritz never asked for anything.
So you're telling me food is power. Because I heard some guy somewhere on the internet say that a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I heard that mentioned beforehand.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
But he was very well regarded. In fact, one community conferred on him the being a man of respect just because of that.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yep. It is.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's these communities also held each other to a higher standard though too, because you're that man of respect, right? You're involved in each other's lives to a higher degree than we are involved with each other now. And I've said before, I think you should use this medium here to start developing your tribe. But if your tribe is only digital, when the digital goes away, you're going to have a hell of a hard time, right? You don't have a tribe, so you need to take it to the next level from there. But by being in community with somebody, regardless of how that expresses itself, it holds me to a higher standard, because I know that I have brothers that I'm responsible to, both on a spiritual level, but a physical level as well. If I tell you I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I fully expect you to jump on me and go, hey man, you said you were going to do it, right? And vice versa. If you're like, don't worry, T, I got it covered, and it's not covered, it's like, dude, we were all dependent on you to cover that, right? And so there's a level of accountability there that I think it would behoove us. Yes, I use that term. All the Marines out there just got flashbacks to Paris Island and knife hands. I think it would behoove us nowadays to begin operating as much as we can in that direction again, because I think it's going to go there. And like you quoted Ecclesiastes earlier, there's nothing new underneath the sun. So if there's nothing new underneath the sun, then all these things are cyclical, right? And all this is going to be coming back again. And, all right, analysis of their preparedness, do's and don'ts, mistakes and successes. I think that, successes-wise, one of the stories that always stands out to me is during the Great Depression, there was a guy, I believe he had a hog farm. And he was in the South, and he was going around buying up telegram and radio stations with food, because the people who owned the telegram offices and the radio stations didn't have any food. And so he'd walk a 300-pound sow in there and they'd sign the deed over to him and he owned it. So, I mean, as far as success, that's one of the reasons that I'm teaching and preaching commodities and food now, is because I think that the market, at least locally and within your tribe, your group of people that you deal with, it's going to make a lot more sense for you and I to be able to do business with, chickens and sheep and rocks and firewood and, labor than, hey man, I got some gold bullion. Don't care, bro. I'm starving. Like, cool story. So what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Well, that's the end of the Bible. The gold is not going to buy nothing. The material things are not going to buy nothing. The food will.
Right.
Food or labor?
Food and labor.
And labor,
Knowledge.
between food and labor is skills. If you have high skills,
Right, you can make it happen.
you can make it happen. That can even be more value of food. If you're like a really highly trained paramedic, or doctor, or combat medic, or something like that, as long as you're still able to do something,
Yep.
you're worth your weight in gold.
You need your hierarchy, though, to fall into. It's like Joseph in the Old Testament, right? Joseph had a skill, but he had to use that skill in Pharaoh's house in order for it to amount to something, right? And so, yeah, it's good to be skilled, but being skilled by yourself out here in the woods isn't going to do you any good. I think you need that system, whatever that, I don't even want to use the word system, because I think our modern day interpretation of the system is going to go away.
Relationships.
That relationship, thank you, right? You need that relationship to fall into, where your usefulness can be made manifest to the betterment of others. That you're not, because it doesn't do anybody any good if you're a skilled paramedic and there's nobody for you to work on. Right?
Or nobody knows.
Or nobody knows. That's true as well. So I think the successes that I see out of these situations are the people that position themselves to be able to take advantage of a crazy market by having commodities. The mistakes that I see looking back at it are people that didn't get out of the market soon enough, or didn't have the material commodities, didn't have the skills. You know, they were too leveraged in the market, which is its own topic for a different conversation nowadays. But
Playing with mammon.
yeah, yeah, trying to time the crash to benefit from it and the whole nine. So, you know, original homesteaders, man. Yeah, I think it's 40 acres and a mule, but it's also my 40 acres and a mule next to your 40 acres and a mule next to your 40 acres and a mule.
It is.
Because if
I
you're
cure the potatoes, you
right,
butcher
I'll
the
do the
pig,
corn and
yeah.
yeah, and you work on the tractor and
Yeah, but having all those things are great. But again, like you said, commodities, aka food, is at the most basic.
right.
Get that first. Get your food and water sorted first. I don't know how many people I know are preaching that, but there's a reason.
Yeah,
Get your food and water sorted. If you are a Christian and you are extremely concerned about things, get 7 years of
Yeah.
food and a way of providing yourself 7 years worth of water.
yep,
Skills. Learn everything you can, like you were saying, right? You need to be able to take a shot at almost anything.
yep.
After that, you know, you should also, I guess, at the same time, food, community.
Mm-hmm.
Build your community, get the food and water, skills, and then be prepared to do your labor and trade your labor.
I think it really just comes down to being a valuable human being. You need to be a valuable human being, and how, like you're talking about, right? If you have the things, right, that again allows you to operate from a position of strength that makes you more attractive to other valuable human beings, that you're not dead weight, at least you're trying, because you could be bound in a wheelchair, but you're taking positive action. I respect that. I see it, and I can reciprocate your good intentions with my good intentions.
you can shell peas in a wheelchair.
Hell yeah, you can. My mom has got some of the worst medical conditions there are on the planet, and she's out here picking black-eyed peas with my daughters, loving it. So there's something that anybody can get in, right? You can do something, but it's that attitude of it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go do something, and that's just extremely useful. And this will be the bow that we'll tie on this. If you believe things are gonna get crazy, act like it. That's where I'm really there in a lot of ways right now. You know, especially, you know, some of the people I run into from a spiritual religious aspect, they're like, oh yeah, Messiah's coming back in 12 years. Are you prepared? No. What the hell, man?
Buy some oil for your lamp.
Is he? Like, yeah, exactly. Buy some oil for your lamp. Store up 7 years of food. Like, do the things.
Get
And-
your soul right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get your soul right. That's exactly right. And act like it. Is it a hobby or is it a conviction? Because if it's a hobby, like this is not the place for you if this is a hobby, because I don't take it as a hobby. We were just talking earlier about how I ended up here and what we're doing here and why am I here? And I could be anywhere in the world making a whole buttload of money right now, doing a whole bunch of different things, and I'm here.
Because you're
And
laying the foundations for your ministry.
shut up. They don't have a ministry.
Oh,
Shut up.
He'll be there.
Yeah, you've been talking to Fingernail again?
No, Fingernail's got his own gig too, but I'm pretty sure he's the anvil to my hammer.
Shut up. Say shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.